It's January 15th, 2026, and this week feels overwhelming. And it's not because a lot is happening, but because too much is happening at once. And that's on purpose. Like if you look at your feed, right, you see stuff about Venezuela, you see stuff about Iran, about Greenland, about ice. There's no time to process before the next one hits. And that's not just information overload, that's what we call attention warfare. It's like we're not informed, we're kind of being cardio trained. So, sarcasm and welcome to another episode here for the fun about mindful media and communication. And this podcast coming from Bangkok, Thailand, and on a personal level, I'm like very much into combat sports, Muay Thai in particular. When it comes to combat sports, what we do a lot is we feint a lot. It's like you're not throwing the jab, or you're not going for the takedown right away, but you're you're feinting, you're twitching, you're like trying to overload the system of your opponent. Because if you twitch, they react, and if they react, they cannot do their own thing, right? Because they react to what you're offering them. So feinting is not about landing, it's about freezing your opponent. So if I show them multiple threats, hands, takedown, moving, right? Then there's no response because they're freezing. They're like, oh shit, well, I don't know what's happening. Then they're not throwing anything by themselves. And the media does the same thing. Because you don't need to lie to people if you can actually cause exhaustion, if you can exhaust attention. And there, of course, as always, I bring lots of theories to you when I discuss current situations, current trends. One of the base theories here is the theory of burnout, actually burnout society. It's a theory by, sorry for butchering the name, Mr. Han, Byung-Chul Han, very famous theory. If you're into communication media studies, it will be with you for a long time. The burnout society, and basically suggests that power today controls not by censoring, but by exhausting people. Okay, so you're not repressing anymore in 2026 because that's not cool. People realize when you're censoring someone, and then they rise up. But you simply exhaust them so that they give in and like, okay, I'd rather watch another episode of Friends rather than actually caring about what's happening in Iran right now or with Greenland or whatever. Okay, so that's the gist of it. So if everything matters, if everything is high stakes, there are lots of feints everywhere, then nothing really can be understood because you don't have the time and the capacity, especially if you have a full-time job or parents and children and stuff like this, families, right? You don't have the capacity to really deeply think about everything, okay? And this leads me to the first real-life example now, like Venezuela. One more time, who would have thought we keep talking about Venezuela for that long? But it's on purpose, of course, right? And I'm calling this right now the simulacrum politics in real time. We talked about hyperreality many times before, if you remember that theory by Jean Baudrillard connected to postmodernist societies that we're in, right? That says like, okay, what's actually real? What's not real? Sometimes things that aren't real become our reality because we assign value to those things that are not real. Case in point, DJT, as always. And I mean, from a media professor's point of view, I should be happy that he's out there because, great example. Trump declaring himself, right, with a fake Wikipedia screenshot, himself as acting president of Venezuela. Funny, joke, sure. But for a second, like ignore that and ignore those potential legal debates, okay, that clearly say that's not the case. But just look at the semiotics. That's what we do in communications, okay? We look at semiotics, at the meaning behind those actions, behind those symbols, okay? What does that mean? What is he doing when he posts that? He's not just trolling, he's performing power. It's like a visual performance of power. And us going along with it, even if you know it's a joke, it's kind of like we're accepting that narrative. You're like, yeah, it's funny, but yeah, sure, right? It's like accepting that performance of power as a narrative. And yeah, again, the theory here is, or I said, Shombodria, hyperreality, the simulacrum. Simulacrum means when representation in the media stops referring to what's real. He is not the acting president of Venezuela, but when it refers to the stuff that's not real, but we assign it real value, then that fake thing becomes reality. Even if you're just joking about it all the time. Eventually, for us, it's fun. We know it's not real, but we treat it like it is. Okay? So that's basically the simulacrum. Okay? Hyper-reality in a nutshell, if you will. If you want more of that, come to my class. Also, in the same breath, you can talk about platform logic, actually, because of course, it's being posted on platforms, on his favorite platform, True Social, and his second favorite platform, X, of course. And here we can kind of like have platform logic take on institutional logic, okay? Because platform logic, right, so social platforms, they're fast. Institutional logic, institutions, they don't move fast. In institutions, it's about rules, verification, is it real, going through different levels, committees, whatever. And socials, it's gone. So speed and circulation, in this case, beat like rules and verification. Right? And then later you can say, oh, it's just a joke. Come on, I'm just having fun. So a key insight here is that, Trump doesn't need the recognition, right? He's the president of the United States. He doesn't need more recognition. He needs circulation. He needs people talking about it. He needs people being like, that's funny. That's a funny guy. I like it. Once the image exists and the image is out there, the media has to respond to it. I'm responding to it. I'm just a small, whatever that's called in the media circle, but all the media responds to it. Mission accomplished, right? So it's kind of like fake it till you make it, but with oil reserves in this case. And this would be enough for a whole episode, actually. Like sitting with that, thinking about it, and then what's next? Well, sure, we have actual war at our fingers, right? And yeah, calling it war, is it premature? Is it not? It's like a civil war, civil unrest, civil uprising. Like what's happening in Iran, right? Because in Iran, there's something weird, crazy, interesting happening. And I call this, just for when I took the notes for this episode, I was like, I'm gonna call this like visibility is the battlefield. Because as we know in media, right, visibility is power. So what's visible will be talked about. And of course, Iran, as you know, shut down the internet basically completely, like a nationwide blackout. And it's the same old move, like dictatorships always do that, right? But there's more at stake right now, because A, the people don't go away, and B, Elon Musk switched on Starlink, and it's like, hey, guys, if you have the receiver, you can use it for free now. Now, the thing here is that you can control what can be seen, and if you can control what can be seen, you can control what exists. So that's the thought process of the government, right? Now, with Elon being like, hey, we want them to be more able to communicate and the world to see more about it or of it, that adds a different layer to it. I'm also going to talk about this in a second about like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not an Elon Musk fan, clearly, as you know. But I also say like help the people of Iran. Of course, we want help for them. And then you think about it, but do governments really have to ask CEOs of tech companies to help out with that? Shouldn't governments be doing that? Like it's very complicated, right? And then now he's in there, it's like, hey, I helped them, like me, come on. It's complicated, very complicated. Yeah, because a private infrastructure stepping into a geopolitical conflict, Yeah, it's not as easy as like hero versus villain. I mean, it's clear who's the villain, but saying that Elon is a hero now, right? Probably not. Like if we're honest. So what I'm saying is platforms are replacing protocols. And that's cool from a tech bro point of view. And I'm a tech guy, right? I'm like, that's kind of cool that we can help the people in Iran like this. It's also very concerning that we have to rely on private companies to do that. What if there's not a private company that can step up, for example? Yeah, so that leads me to like two theories in this quick segment. And one is, now I always hesitate when I talk about this because I'm usually pro technology, like generally speaking, right? But there's a theory called techno feudalism. Okay, it's like that it suggests in a nutshell that power shifts from the government, from states to private infrastructure owners, Starlink, for example, right? Which again, you can have quick interventions, great, but do we trust private corporations with like, geopolitical impact? Do we want that? And that's where it gets a bit iffy from my point of view. Also, then there's a different theory that I like in this regard called network power. There are lots of networking theories out there if you ever looked into it. But network power suggests that whoever controls networks controls meaning and controls coordination. Meaning, well, that theory means the meaning of the theory is so you control who gets to see what's happening, who gets to distribute what's happening, so you can shape the frame in which people are looking at certain developments. That's the idea behind that. So it's not really about diplomacy anymore right now. It's about, and that's a very techy thing, it's about uptime management, right? If you're running like websites and stuff like this, apps, it's all about uptime. Yes, so this is uptime management. Be as connected as possible to have the biggest influence as possible. And speaking of connection and influence, and I have to mention this, and you're gonna make this one short, but we have to talk about because what started as you thought it would start as a joke became a reality, and now Germany sent soldiers to Greenland. What? So Greenland, right? And you look at it, it's like a classic distraction play. Okay, it's like why now? Why talk about it now? We have Iran, we have Venezuela. Don't we have enough battlefields? Remember about what I told you in the very beginning of this podcast. Okay, distraction, exhaustion. Okay, so why? Because it's weird enough to travel. Like, I mean, the message to travel. Like, did he say Greenland? Well, let me look into it. Okay, so that's one. It's very easy to explain. It's simple to understand. We want Greenland. Greenland, lots of natural resources. We want Greenland. Greenland defend America. Ooh, uh, it's a great headline bait, clickbait. It's like Trump wants Greenland. Huh? Click, right? So perfect setup for everything. That that's a perfect example for very basic communication theories that apply everywhere. Just because they're basic doesn't mean they're not valid, right? So agenda setting theory here at play, for example. Talking crazily about like we need Greenland under all circumstances. We're buying Greenland or we're taking Greenland. Like what? You're buying a whole nation? Yeah, but they're not telling us what to think, but what to think about. And we're all thinking about the is happening with Greenland, right? So good job. Agenda setting, check. Okay. Again, media doesn't tell us what to think, but what to think about. And right now we're thinking about Greenland way more than ever before. And that's like that leads to another theory we discussed in the last podcast episode, the dead cat on the table theory. Yeah, throw something shocking out to redirect attention. Like there's something on your plate, but then you're like, hey, look over there. Huh, what's happening over? Oh, Greenland. What the hell? And we're forgetting about Iran, Venezuela, Maduro in New York, or whatever. Like, oh, okay. So every Greenland click is attention not spent elsewhere. It's not random. It's not stupid. It's incredibly effective. And nothing says global stability like real estate discourse, right? And from someone who is in real estate, DJT, smart move. Stupid, incredibly smart, if that makes sense. And this leads me to the last point of this episode that I wanted to make, and maybe it's a little bit of a more somber tone now, because since we've been talking about like US geopolitics right now a lot, right? Then we also have to talk about like the national politics that they are doing, and what's happening with ICE and domestic power and so on. Because I mean, we all know what happened, and it's tragic. But the way they're using the media again to frame it is also very concerning again, because it's obvious what's happening, right? They frame those enforcement stories very visually, like to either intimidate or to, paint a certain picture, like with the last thing happening in Minnesota, Minneapolis, right? When they try to just cut the video so that it looks like that lady was the problem and the ICE agent was just defending himself. And so they're stripping it completely of context, not showing what happened before, not showing what happened after, and so on. It's completely stripped of context, like she tried to attack him and things like this. So authority is communicated through imagery, okay? Not through explanation. That's what news used to do. They would explain the context surrounding, but right now it's not happening anymore. And news in particular, social media too, of course, strips the content of context and just uses like very visual representations to make you feel a certain way. And that leads me to the last theory of today, which is Guy Debord. We talked about him a lot before. The society to spectacle, right? So power maintains itself through images. So if you see repeated images, we believe it. That's the power that they have. Okay, so not arguments win debates. Imagery, repeated imagery wins debates. And the society for the spectacle tells us that we as society, as an audience, we want to see spectacular, crazy, outrageous things. That's what keeps our attention. If you see something normal, we're bored, right? So very much in a nutshell, okay? So that's why we click on those things. That's why we tune into those things, okay? So showing repeatedly such crazy things doesn't need to be violence. Yeah? Could be like reality TV shows as well. I'm a star, get me out of here, whatever it might be. Yeah, but we are looking for spectacle to tune into. And then seeing those images repeatedly, it will stick to our minds, okay? So those repetitions of the imagery wins the debate, not logical arguments win debates. Basically, like when optics speak, policies shut up. And that's why framing, okay, that's the last theory, framing is so important from all different angles these days, because everybody frames what happens differently. And that's why it's so important to understand that. If you're consuming any kind of media, you have to understand it's framed with an agenda in mind. If there's one takeaway from today's podcast episode, take this: every content has an agenda. This one too. This one has the agenda to make you click, like, share, and subscribe. That was lame. To make sure you get more information on how the media works, how the media runs the world, and how you and hopefully friends, family, and so on will understand the media a little bit more. So let me sum up what we discussed today, okay? So it's not about left versus right. You're going to be like, oh, he's a lefty, It's not about that. It's not even about Trump versus institutions, okay? It's not. It's about how attention is managed, how media outlets and how people that use media outlets manage our attention. Confusion is not just a side effect. Confusion is the plan. It's the product. It's what they are going for. And that's what we have to understand. And while I say that, I know I sound a little bit like Alex Jones. Luckily, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat just now. Who knows what's inside my head? But yeah, don't let confusion freeze you, okay? Don't let the feints get to you. Keep your eyes on the prize, stay focused, and don't be too much distracted, okay? Actually, for the wrap up, I'm gonna give you two more theories on the way, because I think they fit well, and I bring it full circle to The first one by Mr. Hahn, we talked about the burnout, the society burnout, right? He also talked about psychopolitics. Okay, so he says control works best, and it's related to the burnout society. Control works best within people when they self-regulate, and they self-regulate under pressure. That pressure could be anything. Could be external pressure, of course. Could be, pressure of too much information, for example, as well. Yeah, related to the burnout. So we self-regulate when we get too much stuff thrown at us. Then we're ignoring it. We're like, okay, that's too much right now. I don't want to hear it. Friends. Yeah. And lastly, my own theory that's coming up in a book real soon called Reality in Beta. Because I think reality right now is constantly adjusted for engagement. We're not going for what's true, what's false, what's wrong, and so on. It's all about engagement, not the truth. And, well, that's sad. But more on this in one of the next episodes. And once the book is out, you will be able to download it here for a short amount of time as well, of course. So stay tuned. Until then, well, stay tuned. Keep an eye on like how democracy is being developed, updated. What's the next bug fix for democracy? Don't forget that burnout is not a personal failure, that it's designed, it's structural. Sometimes, slow down on purpose and don't go with everything. And focusing on one story beats focusing on 10 loud stories. I think that's my takeaway for today. So as always, stay safe, take care. And maybe for today, because we started with combat sports, we end with combat sports. So keep your guard up. Yeah, don't let defeat shadow box your brain or even land on you. And see you in the next Funkit episode. Howdy cow.